Thank you. Clouds. Fluffy, beautiful, floating balls of cotton wool. They stimulate our imaginations. If you squint, you can make out fantastical creatures within them, like unicorns. So what could possibly be bad about clouds? Well, as my friend Smari McCarthy once told me, I hate the term cloud because clouds also block out the sun and they rain on you. And more worryingly, their digital namesakes suffer from a nasty bout of chronic surveillance-itis. Today, nearly every website that we go to tracks what we do, stores that information, and analyzes it to create a profile of us, which is then monetized. And it's not just the web. It's our everyday, our new everyday things. So what kind of new everyday things? Things like a teddy bear, for example. But not just any bear, a Google bear with cameras and microphones and speakers. So a bear that can listen to what your kids are saying to it, that can see your kids while they're playing with it, and can talk to your kids. Now, Google has not built this bear, but this is a Google patent. So it does tell you about how they're thinking about things. A company, however, that has built a similar toy is Mattel with Hello Barbie, which is a Barbie doll that can listen to your kids and speak back to your kids. Now, one of the writers who wrote the words that Barbie speaks in the article that you see here on screen talked about her experience with the project, and she says, I imagined a girl taking the new doll into her bedroom and closing the door. I have no doubt she will ask Barbie all manner of those intimate questions that she wouldn't ask an adult. Further along in the article, it tells us what's actually going on. Whatever someone said to Barbie would be recorded and transmitted via Wi-Fi to the computer servers of Toy Talk. Now that is Toy Talk Incorporated, a corporation, listening to your kids and talking to your kids, quite possibly unassisted and without your involvement. That's just a toy, but it doesn't end there. Today, nearly all of our everyday things are doing this, from our smart televisions, to the things that we wear on our persons, to perhaps the cars that we drive and which will soon drive us to places. All of these new everyday things work by collecting information, data about us. Now, this by itself is not the problem. This is a fact of life. This is how modern technology works. We can't change this aspect of the equation. But there is a very important question that we should be asking, and that is, who owns and controls this data? Who owns and controls the technologies by which this data is gathered? And who has control of where this data originates to begin with? Because if we don't have control on where it originates, we don't really have privacy. Because privacy is not about having something to hide. Privacy is about having the right to either keep certain things to yourself or to share them with others. If we cannot make that decision to begin with because we have already shared to begin with, then we don't have privacy. So this is how modern technology works. The real question is, who owns and controls it? If the answer is that we as individuals own and control it, it's okay. That's where we have a democracy. Things are good. If the answer is that corporations have ownership and control, and by extension that this information is made available to governments and secret agencies, then we have a very different type of social system, one that I and some others would call a corporatocracy. But you don't have to worry, because this is not a decision we need to make today. This is a decision we made several decades ago. Today, we live in a corporatocracy. The question is, will we find a path forward, not back, to a more democratic future? We're talking about the clouds. When we talk about the cloud, what we're really talking about is server farms. Have you ever stopped to ask yourselves what it is that's being farmed? Because if you do, you might quickly reach the conclusion that it's us, that we are what's being farmed. Now, if you think that I'm exaggerating, just the other day, I opened up a web browser, and I opened up Mozilla Lightbeam, which is an extension for Firefox that shows you all of the third-party sites that you get exposed to when you go to one site. And I thought, let's go to, a nice, tame site like Forbes.com. What could go wrong? So there I am, going to Forbes.com, and you can immediately see the page hasn't loaded. We've been exposed to 31 third-party sites. Their opening quote is there. We're at 39 third-party sites. I'm clicking Continue to Cite. We're at 53 third-party sites. These are 53 sites that you don't know, you don't care about, that know about you now, right? And it's going on. I'm just browsing around a little bit. 78, 79. I think you get the idea. One site, the site that I want to go to, has just allowed me to be tracked by how many is it now? 84 third-party sites. But let it not be said that Forbes does not understand irony. Because if you block this tracking, this is the screen that you get. And this is, I did not Photoshop this, I swear. That's the quote that I saw on their page that tells you that you should turn off your ad blocker. If you can't read it, Peter Drucker, there is nothing quite so useless as doing with great efficiency something that should not be done at all. So Forbes does get irony, I believe. And there's a big problem with this, because what they're really telling you is to compromise on your security. On this very site, there has been malware downloaded by people through malicious ads. Ads have been used, are an attack vector for infecting your computer with malware today. At the very least, if we're not thinking about anything else, about the ramifications of your information being shared with 84 sites when you go to one site. And yesterday, as I was trying to get a screenshot for this talk, this was what I saw on Wired. If you're not familiar with Wired, it's like the PR magazine for Silicon Valley. It's very glossy. And they say, here's the thing with ad blockers. We get it. Ads aren't what you're here for, but ads help us keep the lights on. So it's basically saying, look, help us. Come on, this is how we make our money. Please don't block our ads. They don't get it. It's not about ads. It's about protecting ourselves from trackers and from the erosion of our human rights. We can do better than this. This cannot be the pinnacle of human creation and civilization. We have the internet. It has boundless potential, and this is what we've turned it into. We must do better than this. What if we took an ethical approach to the things that we're designing? What if we designed ethically? What would that look like? How would that be different from maybe what Silicon Valley is doing today? Well, maybe it would look something like this. At its very base, we would be building products that respect human rights. And in order to do that, we have to build and organize our organizations differently. Design starts with the design of the organization, with how it's funded. If we make those decisions incorrectly, we can't actually build the products we want to build. But we don't stop there. We go beyond it. We build things that respect human effort. But we don't stop there. We build things that respect human experience. And so how do these things look like then? At their base, they must be decentralized, private by default, open, interoperable, accessible, secure, and sustainable. This is a minimum prerequisite for respecting human rights in the things that we make. But again, we don't stop there. Because we must make things that respect human effort, that are functional and convenient and reliable. That means that people will actually use these things that we make. And then, if we can get to this point, let's go further. Let's build things that delight. Because respect for experience is no less important than any of the other layers. Experiences are all we have in life, and then we die. It is our responsibility as designers, as the people who build experiences, to not take for granted the limited time that people have in this world. So that tip of the pyramid, although it looks smaller, is just as important as every other layer. And this is what we at my tiny little social enterprise, Indie, call ethical design. We have a manifesto about it, which is not more complicated than this, because the issues that we're talking about are not complicated. What we're failing at today is not some deep philosophical ethics. We are failing kindergarten ethics. It's not rocket science. And you can download the manifesto and you can read through it, and please, if you do, put it up somewhere as well if you agree with it. It's at indie/ethical design. There's nothing I like more than getting photos from people who have put them up in their agencies, in their design agencies and product agencies and in their software houses. It's up in Philips in Amsterdam. It's up in a few other places. There are people in the academic world who are using it as a framework, a very simple framework. So 2 academics wrote to me recently and said, reading the manifesto made us reflect on methods and practices we use within the human-computer interaction community. How